Most people have heard the claim that no country on earth could invade the United States. It sounds like exaggeration. It sounds like arrogance. And at first glance, it sounds wrong. After all, history is full of powerful empires that fell when they least expected it. So today, let's set emotion aside and ask a serious question. Why is it effectively impossible for any country, or even all other countries combined, to invade and occupy the United States? Not attack, not bomb, not hack, but invade, advance, and hold territory. When people imagine an invasion, they usually picture missiles, airstrikes, or a surprise attack. But that's not an invasion. An invasion means landing massive ground forces, supplying them continuously, pushing inland, and controlling a hostile population for years or decades. Winning a battle is easy. Winning a war is hard. Occupying a country is the hardest thing militaries attempt. And that's where the idea of invading the United States collapses. The first obstacle is geography. The United States is protected by two vast oceans, the Atlantic and the Pacific, each thousands of miles wide. Any invading force would need to move enormous armies, vehicles, fuel, food, and equipment across open water for weeks or months. That movement would not be secret. Modern satellites, submarines, and intelligence systems would detect it long before the first ship ever approached the coast. And once detected, those supply lines, the most fragile part of any invasion, would become targets. The only land borders the United States shares are with Canada to the north and Mexico to the south. Neither country has the capacity or the incentive to serve as a staging ground for invasion. Contrast that with wars throughout history, where invasions happened across shared borders or narrow seas. Even Russia's invasion of Ukraine required neighboring access and still faced enormous logistical failures. Invading the United States would mean doing something no nation has ever done before: launching the largest amphibious operation in human history against the most technologically advanced military on Earth. Logistics, the silent war. Wars are not won by soldiers alone. They are won by fuel trucks, cargo ships, repair crews, and supply depots. Every soldier needs food. Every vehicle needs fuel. Every weapon needs ammunition. And all of it must arrive on time, every day, without interruption. To invade the United States, an enemy would need to maintain a supply chain stretching across oceans while under constant attack from air, sea, and space. If that supply chain breaks, even briefly, the invasion stalls. History shows this over and over again. Armies don't usually lose because they're defeated in combat. They lose because they run out of fuel, food, or spare parts. An army that outruns its logistics doesn't retreat, it collapses. The U.S. military factor. Even if an invasion force somehow reached American shores, it would face the U.S. military at full strength, not deployed overseas, but defending its own territory. The United States maintains the world's largest and most advanced Navy, one of the most powerful air forces ever assembled, global surveillance through satellites and early warning systems, a nuclear deterrent that fundamentally reshapes any large-scale war. An invading coalition wouldn't just need to defeat U.S. forces in one region. They would need to neutralize American air power, naval power, cyber capabilities, and missile defense simultaneously, without triggering escalation that could end the war instantly. And no alliance on Earth has the unified command, trust, or coordination required to do that. Size, terrain, and population. The United States is enormous. It spans deserts, mountains, forests, plains, swamps, and dense megacities. Each environment favors defenders differently and punishes attackers in unique ways. Urban combat alone is devastating for invading forces. Every building becomes a defensive position. Every street becomes a choke point. Now, combine that terrain with a population of over 330 million people, including millions of military veterans. This does not mean civilians replace the military. It means occupation would never be stable. History shows that even lightly armed populations can exhaust and defeat stronger occupying forces over time. Taking land is one thing. Controlling a population that does not accept occupation is another entirely. The myth of all countries combined. Some argue that while no single nation could invade the United States, the rest of the world combined could. In theory, maybe. In reality, that alliance would collapse before the first ship ever sailed. Different nations have different goals, rivalries, command structures, languages, and political pressures. Many depend on U.S. trade, technology, or security guarantees. Others would face internal unrest the moment resources were diverted into an unwinnable war. And the global economy, deeply interconnected, would likely collapse under the strain. An alliance large enough to invade the United States would be too unstable to function. How the U.S. could be attacked. This does not mean the United States is invincible. No country is. But invasion is not about strength alone. It's about distance, logistics, terrain, population, economics, and political reality. When all of those factors are combined, invading and occupying the United States becomes not just unlikely, but irrational. That's why modern wars target systems, not soil. And that's why, despite endless speculation, no serious power plans to put boots on American shores. Not because it's impossible to try, but because it would be impossible to finish.